Welcome to Dave and Adam Talk Sailing. I'm your host, Adam Van Voris. This is my co-host, Dave German. Today, we're going to be talking about chance opportunities, embracing your inner hobbit, and how this will help you to lead a more fulfilling life. Dave and I, in our brief discussions, believe it or not, we don't actually know each other all that well. We're getting to know each other on this podcast. But we've come to the conclusion that we've both lived fairly deliberate lives. I myself have always, since I was pre-teenager, I've always had a list of things I wanted to do. Things like skydiving, doing the Newport Bermuda race, climb El Capitan. Some of these things I've done, some of them are still on the list. But I continue to move through life. However, in all of the things I've accomplished, chance meetings generally play a role. Dave, how about you? Deliberate? Random wandering through life? How's it gone for you?
Hey, thanks a lot, Adam. Well, first of all, my runway on my bucket list is a little shorter than yours, so I think I probably have checked a few more of those boxes, but very deliberate. I think deliberate is a good description. As we talked about a little before we got started, I also think about the opportunities that have been presented to me over time, specifically around sailing, and we can get into a little bit of those as well. But those opportunities sort of change the direction of maybe my goals, of the things that I feel like I need to accomplish. So yes, deliberate, but opportunity.
All right. So, in the case of sailing, which is really our topic here, so that's the lane we're going to stay in. I had a goal of doing a Bermuda race, and even though that was a solid goal, that race came together because of a chance meeting. What was we're going to be getting into your Bermuda race, which I believe was 2018, is that correct?
Mm-hmm, it is.
So, what was your interest in the Bermuda race prior to your chance meeting?
Yeah, I
was
think
it something you always wanted to do, or did it just kind of pop up?
No, it was definitely on my list of goals in life. I really wanted to do. I did a fair number of offshore races in Florida. Going to Mexico, going to Cuba, going to the Bahamas. But the Newport Bermuda race, is always considered one of the pinnacle of racing. And so that is definitely one I wanted to get into.
Firmly one of the 5 great ocean races, alongside the Sydney Hobart, the Fastnet, the Transpac. So, the Transpac, interesting, that's a bit of a lead-in to your Bermuda story.
It is.
It turns out that you, and by other chance meetings that we may or may not get into a little further down the road, my daughter also is associated with the boat, although she has yet to make her way onto it. You ended up on a very famous Transpac boat doing the Newport Bermuda. Tell us about that experience. What's the boat? Why is it famous? And how does a chance meeting put you on this boat?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, at least for me. First of all, so for folks that don't know the Transpac, it's a 2,600-mile race from California to Hawaii. And by the way, that is not on my bucket list. That is way too far.
Dave.
Way too far. So I have tremendous respect for those that do it, but I think that takes a unique kind of racer. So I met a gentleman by the name of Chip Merlin. Chip joined our yacht club here in Florida, and he was looking for kind of a go-fast sport boat for racing in Tampa Bay. And it just so happened I was selling my boat at the time, and he was very interested and bought that boat. So soon after that, this Transpac boat that you talked about, named Merlin, no relation to Chip, became available, and Chip said, well, I have to have that boat. It's my namesake. It's got such a history of racing. So he bought it. So Merlin actually goes back to 1977. It was considered kind of the innovator of the ultralight racing scene coming out of California. So it was 68 feet. It was a custom boat built specifically for the Transpac race. by designed and built by a gentleman named Bill Lee. So Bill is still involved in the program today, even though this was his innovations back in 1977. So it's pretty cool to see the history of this boat. Chip bought it, brought it to the East Coast. He refit it, and he did a kind of a shakedown race to Cuba, which I was not on. It was a different boat. But he did sign up for the Newport to Bermuda race and asked me if I wanted to be an amateur helmsman. Did you have a question?
So Cuba, did you do the Cuba race?
I've done
Did you do the race at Merlin?
I've done it a couple of times. I didn't do it on Merlin, though.
Perhaps a story for another time.
Perhaps a story for another time, indeed. So the Newport to Bermuda race came up. Chip asked me to be kind of a guest amateur helmsman on a pro boat. To be in the St. David's Lighthouse, you have to have amateur drivers. So it was a great opportunity for me. Very exciting to be able to drive what is now a 70-foot boat. They added a couple of feet to the transom. Just part of the modifications you do to these older boats. But
it's plastic. We can do anything.
Right. So there were 14 crew on the boat. About 7 of them were professionals. So it's an interesting dynamic on a boat of amateurs and professionals. I won't say it's all positive. Professionals have an agenda, and they want to make sure everybody understands that they know what they know. Meanwhile, it was, as I put it, a magical experience for me. We raced. We had 83 boats in our division. We raced. It was a 3-day race. Believe it or not, very unlike your race. It never blew over 10 knots. The whole 638 miles or whatever the distance was. But we did make it in 3 days. We were first to finish in the St. David's Lighthouse division, closely contested at the end by a couple of other similar-sized boats. Interestingly, we were 83 out of 83 boats on corrected time. So handicap ratings are not always friendly to these go-fast sport boats. But so anyway, that was generally the race. One interesting crew point, though, one of the professionals on the boat is Vladimir Kulichenko. Kuli, as we refer to him, is a club member of mine, a good friend of mine. He was my watch captain, so I worked with him. He has sailed twice around the world. If you recall the Whitbread race back from years ago, it was a crewed race around the world nonstop. Or no, it had like 7 stops going around the world.
7 stops. And the Whitbread, maybe more recognizable, morphed into the Volvo. It became the Volvo Ocean
Yes,
race.
it's evolved into the Volvo race, indeed. Cooley defected from the USSR, so he was Ukrainian. He raced on Fazizi, and then a few years later, when he ran it again, on Odessa. So Odessa's actually, I think both of those boats are still in Florida. Fazizi's not looking too good, but very, very interesting stories. He's written a book recently and published, so we just, sailing with Cooley is tons of fun. But anyway, enough on that.
So on that trip, was Kat's husband the skipper?
He was.
Or had he not come on the scene yet?
No, he did. He was the crew manager, right? So both Kat and Brian Malone are on the boat. They work for, or at least Brian works for Chip, managing his boats.
And was Chip the skipper of record then?
Chip.
Who was
no, absolutely.
Who was
Chip,
the skipper for that? Okay.
Chip was the skipper of record, absolutely.
So as threads weave together, one of the interesting threads in Dave's story is that my daughter, Ariana, who some of you may remember from the T-Head, she was T-Head and launch driver at Shinnecockett in 2022, summer of 2022. Went to school in Florida, and Kat Malone, the manager's wife, was one of Ariana's professors, which is one of the interesting meetings of chance that go full circle. Ari ended up taking a job in Brian Malone's sail loft and working on what was formerly Dave's boat. She was responsible for taking care of that boat along with doing some things in the sail loft, and ultimately crewing on that boat. That all comes back together where Dave and I meet on the dock, and I'm discussing that Ari's on this boat, sort of a mix of professionals. It's an interesting dynamic, but she's not making a lot of progress. And from there, because of that meeting, Dave adopted Ari, who came over to his boat, which was the Columbia. What was that boat?
Columbia 30 Sport, which I just sold to somebody in Toronto.
If you're not seeing a trend, Dave can't help but build new boats. He immediately gets tired of them and moves on to put another boat together, which after my build of Desna for the Bermuda race, I can't imagine. But Dave's just got more energy than I do, I think. So Ari, by my meeting of Dave on the dock, Ari comes over to the Columbia, and Ariana, who had done at that point Annapolis, Newport, round Long Island, she had done the 2022 Newport Bermuda, which was not a light air race, and done fantastically well in the afterguard. She was a trimmer, and we did well. We got second place in class in the Annapolis Newport race, largely due to our spinnaker trimming, and we pulled off a fourth place in our first Bermuda race, in spite of ripping our spinnaker in half in the first day and a half or so. All largely due to crew performance, of which she was really a strong part of. But in spite of having crossed the Gulf Stream in 30 knots of winds, she was scared to death of the foredeck. Dave, I don't know how you did it, but Dave somehow got her up on the foredeck, and now she can't get enough. She came back to do off soundings with us last year and wanted to do foredeck on the symmetrical. So that was a bit of a learning curve, but a great opportunity for Ariana. So you got a really good, just because of this chance, Chip joins the yacht club, you put your boat up for sale, he buys the B-32, and you end up on a really interesting boat, getting the Bermuda race done.
Yeah, one more point.
Any more Bermuda races in your future?
Oh, definitely not. No, I'll leave that to you. As I said, I think my sailing runway, I'm kind of committed to coastal races and maybe some overnighters, but probably not. I like the sun up when I'm racing now.
Okay, so we're backing away from the multi-day 24/7 racing, coming back to something a little closer to home, right? So
yeah, as you said, I quickly move on. So before the Columbia 30 hasn't gone up to Toronto yet, but we already bought a J27, so we'll be racing that in Tampa Bay and coastal races along the Gulf of Mexico.
Wow, that's great. That's going to be a fun boat, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. The examples of chance, Dave meets Chip, my daughter meets Kat, and all of them tie together and get to do some really fantastic racing as a result. All these chance opportunities, this is where your opportunities present. And even though Dave and I are talking about the Newport Bermuda race in Tampa Bay, it's right here at home too, right here at Shinnecock Yacht Club. We have our Friday night 420s. If you've never touched a sailboat, come on out. Join us on the 420s on Friday night. I'm going to be out there as many nights as I can. Dave's going to be out there. We've got a bunch of other people who are going to be out there to help, along with my son and almost daughter-in-law will be out there sailing. We want to get you guys out. We're certainly going to offer free sail, but we'd like to get you involved to see some racing. It's fun. It's easy. It's not a big commitment. It's not a crazy thing. The other event that we have that's a really great opportunity for you guys is the Vixen's Ledge Race. Any sailboat at all that's over 22-ish feet can get out in that race, have a great day. It's just an opportunity to get out on the water, have a great day of sailing. There's a little competition, but it's not too much. I mentioned in the beginning, embracing your inner hobbit. And what I really mean by that is when those opportunities present, when those chance meetings occur, instead of going, no, I'm just going to sit on the deck and have another beer, or no, I don't do sailboats, I'm a power boater, or I'm a fisherman, grab those opportunities. Be Bilbo Baggins. When those opportunities present, that's Gandalf. If you don't know who Bilbo is and you don't know who Gandalf is, Google it. It's worth a look. Until next time, Stay salty.